Welcome back to another episode of Creating Your Best Life Now. I am your host, Kristen Owens, and today we are talking about those voices you hear in your head that tell you that you're not good enough, you're not a good speaker, you don't talk properly, you can't do that, the other team is better than you, you're not smart enough, you're not going to be able to pull that off, you can't afford that, I'll never get a raise, everyone takes advantage of me, and anytime I try something new, it never works out. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not thin enough, and the list goes on and on and on. Have you ever heard this negative self-talk in you? It's almost like there's this other person within you talking for you, right? Like there's this person in you that wants you to fail, that wants to hold you back. Most of your self-talk is always negative, and it's always about you, and research proves it. Have you ever noticed you're not cheering yourself on as much as you're beating yourself up? That has got to stop. If you want to create your best life, then you've got to transform your inner critic into your inner cheerleader. And that's what we're doing today. Richard Bach said this: argue for your limitations and you're sure enough that they'll be yours. So if you argue for them, they're going to be yours either way. And is that what you want? Are you arguing for your limitations? Are you arguing to stay with those voices that are not lifting you up? Are you allowing them to be your umpire? Are they the ones that lead you? Remember our past lesson? You can be right, or you can be healthy, or you can be wealthy, or you can be happy, but you can't be right and be both, right? So my question for you is, do you want to keep those critical thoughts and voices you hear? Or would you rather shift them? Would you like to know how to do that? Research tells us that those thoughts are powerful on us, and they will affect your attitude, your behavior, and your motivation, and definitely how you act. So would you like to know how you can begin transforming this so that you can start being your own cheerleader? Firstly, like all the other lessons, you have got to stay aware of what you are hearing in your mind. That's the first thing. What are you hearing? Are you just hearing and then you just let it go and you ignore it? Because if that's what's happening, you've got to shift that. You've got to be aware. Many times when we hear those voices, we just keep on doing what we're doing because it is so automatic that we don't even think twice about it. I would guess that you probably have agreed with those voices because you've heard them so many times and for so long that they're just second nature. And you believe them because why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you believe them? You hear them all the time. And then you start to just know that you trust and believe that they're true. But they're not true. They're lies. Now you must start thinking twice. You've got to start thinking twice. Have you ever heard your mother say, think before you speak? Well, now is a good time to start listening before you speak. Or maybe just listening to what you're hearing you tell yourself. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is ask where those criticizing words and statements are coming from. If you hear you're not smart enough to do that, is it something you heard growing up? Were you told you weren't smart enough? Was it something someone said to you, or is it something you've just told yourself because of the past experiences or even the events that have caused you to create a story that's limiting? Many times we begin to believe something is true about us simply because of a repeated pattern we see as we've gone through events that have made us decide that it's the truth. For example, if you experienced events where the outcomes were less than you desired, you could have made the decision that you were not smart enough because you never came first, because someone else was picked over you, nothing ever comes easy for you, and so on. Do you see what I mean? You can apply this to pretty much any area of your life. My suggestion is to start thinking about limiting beliefs, start thinking about them, that you have that arise from those voices in your head, and begin to ask these questions. And by doing so, you will begin to transform that inner critic, because the fact is that we all have it. Remember, when asking these questions, ask if it's the actual truth. Am I really not smart enough? If the answer is no, which it likely will be, then ask what you can replace those criticizing voices with that is empowering for you to hear. Always go with the truth. just because you keep hearing them, it doesn't mean it's the truth. Just because you think someone told you this or a situation that happened, it doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just the truth that you've decided to create about it. This whole process can take a matter of seconds in your mind, okay? A whole second. So I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, who has time to be thinking this all day long? Sometimes it takes a little bit more thinking, but it's important that you move past criticizing voices or you will stay stuck, I promise you. We're talking about creating the best life for you now. And if you're going to do that, and if you're going to create it as opposed to let life happen to you, then what you need to do is you've got to go through this process. It is so worth it, and you will begin to feel more optimistic, more motivated, and more happy. So remember, ask yourself, when you hear the voice, ask yourself, why am I hearing this voice? Find out, where is it coming from? And so you have the opportunity to create whatever it is that you desire. We're talking about how your inner critic is creating the life that you have right now. So be more aware of what you're thinking about. Be more aware of the words you're speaking, because everything that comes from within is going to show up on the outside. Whether it's from what you're thinking will come out in your words, and then those words are going to create your life. So start thinking about it today, because you will start to see that as you are diligent and you're consistent, that you will be able to move towards what it is that you desire and be able to silence those inner critic voices. So look forward to seeing you again. Stay with us. We'll be right back.